I think we over-index towards wounds. Like I think we talk about wounds too much instead of understanding that there's wisdom in your wound.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that hurts you the most becomes a gift.
Mm-hmm.
If you sit with it and you let it speak to you and you let it teach you, it has a superpower in there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Paradox, hosted by Dr. Sherry Ross, leading OBGYN, and Dr. Tammy Nelson, world-renowned sex therapist. 2 experts, 0 filters, whole truth.
Today's guest is Joe Martinez-Khalilian. He's a motivational speaker, an executive coach. He inspires thousands of people through his talks and mentorship. We're going to dive into what it really means to be resilient, to love deeply, to break free from the myths that hold us back, and what it means to be a dad. He's just a nice guy. He drove a couple hours to get here to be here in person, so thanks, Joe. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we got to do it in person.
I was saying earlier, like I was watching the U.S. Open this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what does it take for these guys to like stay in the game when they're clearly pissed off because they're losing,
Right.
and then they come back like a couple points later, and then they are throwing the racket, and then they're like talking to themselves. I'm like, what do those coaches say to them to motivate them, that they like have these parts of themselves that are talking to themselves, and like you're the guy that would keep someone like that in a game. Like, how do you do that? Like, what is the secret? Because I want to know.
Sure.
Because I have those days.
Sure.
Right.
Most days.
You're not asking
we all
for
do.
a friend.
We all
We're
do.
not asking for a friend.
I think, I'll start with this. I believe that the people that I work with, they're the curriculum, right? It's not me motivating them.
Mm-hmm.
It's me helping them understand themselves so that they can motivate themselves in the moment. Because I think that's what we lose track of, right? Is like, oh, okay, now I got to hear from you in order to be motivated. Instead of sometimes, when we have a session, I'll ask the question, okay, what were you experiencing in that moment?
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint it?
Are you like courtside with some of your athletes?
No, we'll do, so it's like weekly sessions.
Okay.
My favorite, I don't want to say my favorite people to work with, but I do love my baseball players, particularly because so much of that sport is failure. You know what I mean?
That
Like,
sounds like my work with people. Like I
How
work
so?
sex therapy.
Okay, I want to hear a little bit about that too. I'm like, okay, so a lot of failure happening in the bedroom before we get to a good
A
spot.
lot of dysfunction. People come in not because
Yes.
things are going great.
That's right.
Right.
They
They
come
didn't
in
come for
because-
validation from Tammy.
Yeah,
Right.
They come in when things are like not going great. Like their relationships are not great, or their sex life is not going great, or their parts are not working well, or it's kind of the same thing.
And it's like, it's not like you can jump in there and just motivate them to be like, come on, get it up.
I
Right?
don't
Like
stand by their bed, and that's extra. That's the advanced
Right.
therapy.
You got the glasses
That's
on or
right.
something. I don't know why there's like orange glasses you haven't seen.
network cost.
I don't know, but it's post game.
Yeah.
Like we review.
It is. Well, and I think, unfortunately, most of us as humans, we're willing to seek help when we're in that pit, right? Where things aren't working. Okay, now I'm going to humble myself to seek help instead of, I think, for me, it's like, go get help regardless, because we're all missing something.
Mm-hmm.
There's an awareness issue, there's blind spots, whatever it is. We can always grow more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of where I love to start with my athletes is, if you want to be the best of the best of the best, you got to pay attention to the things that nobody else pays attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love to work on with
So
folks.
what do you say? I mean, the pregame conversation. I mean, is there sort of a mantra that you give them, or I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. So the quick answer is, it's not about what I say to them. It's about the invitation. It's about the question. A big part of it is inviting them into like owning who they are. Because the more we know who we are, we can tackle anything.
Sure.
But for the most part, we give up ourself for the sake of something external. And so some of what I'm doing with them is like inviting them back to themselves.
Wait. So
Yeah.
let me just bring this down to
sure.
something I can understand.
Sure.
So if we,
let's go.
I'm trying to relate it to my own life. So one of the things that, and I'm going to bring it back to tennis because I used to play tennis, so I kind of understand that more than I do baseball.
Yeah.
Although baseball is kind of a sexual metaphor, but we'll get back to that.
With the bats and the ball. Is that okay?
Bats and
balls
Home
and
runs.
the home runs
Okay.
and getting to first base and all that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Okay.
So I used to play tennis, but I was never really good at like doubles when somebody would be at the net and they clearly wanted it more than I did. And I'm pretty competitive, but not in that way. I'd be like, this really matters to you. So I would almost like give it to them. And the last minute when it was really down to the final game.
You gave them the shot?
I think I would like sort of like give up my power and be like, you clearly are gonna be more invested in winning, and so I will be the loser because it'll make you feel good about yourself. Like I never realized it till afterwards when I stopped playing tennis that I was probably not that really like good competition. Like I was never really a good competitor. Like how do you bring yourself in that moment to know who you are, know what your issues are, and push past that? Like that's the turning point for me when you say you have to know your own story.
Yeah, part of it could be for you. It's like, hey, I don't really love the sport that much. That's why I don't want to be front and center, right? So that could be the first access point. Because if you love it, you are going to find a way to go to that spot.
I think they loved it more than I did.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, without judgment, first we want to inquire, how much do you love the sport? How much do you love competition? Another access point would be like, well, what are you afraid of if you're front and center? So it could be
getting hit in the face with a ball.
Yeah, it could be the injury.
You're dealing with all professionals, so that's an assumption that they love what they do.
Right.
But is that wrong?
Really?
Sometimes. Well, I think they all start in a place of loving what they do, and then with any human, the more you do it, and then the more pressure comes, it's easy to lose the love. Because now you're doing it for outcomes, you're no longer doing it for the fun of it. And that becomes another part of the mental game, is like, hey, how do we keep the core, which is love, fun, play, joy, curiosity at the core, instead of, oh no, if I don't do this, this is going to happen. If I don't get this result, I'm going to be cut. People aren't going to like me. That's what strips the joy. So like I said, sometimes that's the conversation that we're having, is like, how do you keep the primary pursuits and motivations at your center, even when things aren't going the way that you want externally? Which I'm guessing same thing sexually, right? It's like, what's this about for you? And how do you get a core motivation to help you show up even when it's not working out the way that you thought?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. I was thinking, the point is to stay in the moment and experience the pleasure of whatever that is. Either it's in your body or being with a partner or whatever, instead of trying to get to the finish line and trying to get to the whatever.
But in some way, that's probably not unusual for any line of work you do. Like I'm an obstetrician, and I don't do as much OB kind of by choice, but when the joy is gone, at 3 a.m, you may not have as much joy doing a delivery. You become less wanting to do it.
Right.
And maybe that's what you're saying about some of your professional athletes.
Absolutely. And I think, so presence, it's even connected to some of what we're going to get into today, I think is one of the most important postures as a human. And most of us don't know how to initiate presence at will. It kind of just happens.
Say more about that. Initiate presence at will. So like being in this moment right now with us, the three of us.
Yeah, because I think our natural tendency, when you meet somebody new, for example, I'm half here, right? I'm not going to give you my full presence until what? I know I can trust you. I'm comfortable. I'm safe with you. I've built the skill of like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to show up. Why? Because there's some things that I believe about the moment, right? It's like, one, I don't think anybody can truly hurt me. I think I'm going to learn something through any situation. And if there is hurt, it's not going to destroy me. The pain of the moment is going to teach me something. So that's why I'm not living this like protected. That's usually what prevents our presence from showing up, right? It's like, I got to protect myself because I don't know who's here to help me and who's here to hurt me.
How do you motivate presence for your athletes?
I think it's through authenticity. So that's why I say the person is the curriculum. So if you're truthfully comfortable being you, you can step in the moment knowing I have what it takes to not only make it through this, but show up at my best in this moment. You know what I mean? Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering, like, what happens if you've had a lot of trauma. So it's okay to say, yeah, I'm going to show up, I'm going to be myself, and I'm not going to be afraid. But what happens if you've had a lot of trauma in your life, if you've been hit with a lot of tennis balls in the face, so to speak, or you've been hurt in a lot of relationships? Like, how do you make that that decision to be vulnerable, to be present? Like, what would you tell people? I'm sure you work with a lot of people that have been traumatized. You've had trauma. You know the speak.
Absolutely. And so I'm trauma informed, but it's not my specialty to go down like the deep paths of trauma. So just so we're clear, we're
not going down the deep path of trauma.
My expertise is like, is like, hey, if you've been like supremely traumatized, I can pass you off.
He's vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say part of what I've learned, when it comes to something like trauma is sometimes there's a story that's lodged in you. And, there's a part that I can participate in, which is like, how do we resolve this part? This emotion, this narrative that's kind of lodged in your bones. And that is not a head activity. That's usually a somatic activity first. That's usually a body thing. How do we interact with the body so that you can release what's inside of you? And again, my level is, I don't know if we want to call it level 3, but like level 4 and above, I probably got to pass it off to Gabor Mate or somebody like that,
I mean, are there pregame rituals that you recommend, whether it's meditation, yoga, tai chi, some of these relaxation techniques that we...
Yeah, so you'll start to see this as a pattern for me. I don't believe in these cookie cutter, hey, just go do this. Because again, for me, it's about who are you? What is it that works for you? So for some guys, and gals, it's like a breathing routine. For some, it's like, they want to listen to a certain type of music. For some, it's I want to eat a certain snack. Other folks, it's like, I got to get a nap in. So what's the thing that's going to prepare you to be your best, to regulate, to show up really confident and strong? It looks different for different people. And I think, so I wouldn't trust anybody who says, just go do this, because what they're bypassing is knowing yourself. And I think that's where I take a little bit more time to slow down and figure out who's in front of me. Because the more I can do that, I mean, again, to me, there's a lot of connection between the sexual dynamic, right? Is if I think, I'm just going to have sex with everybody the same way, that's not going to work. I got to slow down to figure out, who are you? What do you like? And what does our partnership look like, so that then we can create an experience together? It's the same thing, for somebody who's going to perform at a high level. It's not a cookie cutter approach.
That's very good.
But I've heard that there, like you're not supposed to have sex the night before, or there's all these
carbs, don't eat carbs.
I've heard, right? I mean,
that
carbs, man. We could blame a lot on carbs, right? It's just like,
I mean, is that a myth about the
sex or the carbs?
Well, sex is what I was getting at.
Yeah. Again, I think different for different people. So there's no prescription. There's a NBA guy that I did a little bit of work with, and he was like, whenever I'm in training camp, and he wasn't married, so he's like, whenever I'm in training camp, no sex.
Oh.
I mean, no masturbation either.
He's like, nothing.
Oh.
Because he just found
How long is that camp for?
And even
keep it in.
He said that he made a commitment for a year once to say, I want to see how this impacts my performance.
Okay. And
part of it was there are certain levels of distraction, especially as a single man for him. It's like, oh, wow, I got all these women vying for my attention because I'm such a high profile athlete. And so he wanted to take that off the table and say, all right, how does it change my approach, my game, my training? And he's like, it was significant.
Because he wasn't distracted.
Right, because he wasn't distracted. He was putting more time and energy into that. So it's really about that. It's not like there's a cheat code of like, well, if I don't, have sex, then I get this. It's more about dedicated attention.
So he was hitting home runs on the field.
It was basketball.
All season.
Yeah.
He's hitting home runs in basketball.
He was hitting the basketball home runs.
High
Correct.
shooter.
That's right. Yeah. How many dunks is too many dunks?
But wait, the success always on the court is your points. Doesn't matter how you get them, right? Whether it's a 3-pointer at the free throw line. Am I right?
I like where I just want to see where you go.
I played in high school.
I just want to see where you go with this. Yeah.
I scored a basket for the other team.
She's so trying to impress you with her.
No, I played, but I did score a basket for the other team. That was my claim to fame.
That
You still
says
are.
a
It was
lot.
at halftime, and
Yeah.
I came on the court, and I was so excited to get the ball. I just went in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It was mortifying.
Yeah.
Because the crowd was, I thought they were cheering for me, and they were laughing.
That's so embarrassing.
Probably was like a trauma, now that I think about it.
That can be traumatic too, for sure.
We're going to talk later.
I
You
need to-
scored. See, but that was the day and age of no social media, so they didn't get that.
Thank
there was no
God.
footage,
I
right?
know.
Because that would have been great.
But it's still a story shared at
You
family
scored for the other team.
Yeah.
What
you
did
know?
your parents say after that?
It's okay,
They're
honey.
like, "We're gonna put you in medical
You did the
school.
best
We're
job
gonna-
you could do.
Medical
Right?
school.
Sports is
Right.
not your forte.
Right.
You have other skills.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Aw.
I know. Anyway,
Okay, no, you were saying, so free throw line, 3-pointers, you score all the baskets.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, that's not your identity where your strength lies.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
beyond me.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking
Yeah.
about it from a vulnerable place.
Yeah.
And like that's part of the thing that I'm wondering about. Like, how do people pull out? Like, if she was a professional basketball player, let's just say she was in the WNBA or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's right.
Yeah.
You got it.
Like, how do you pull out from failure or from embarrassment
Yeah.
or humiliation, getting hit in the face with a ball, going in the wrong direction? Like, a loss in front of everybody.
Absolutely.
Like,
True.
I mean, you could compare that to any humiliation or embarrassment or any kind of vulnerability. I think people feel stuck. They come to therapy or they go to a coach. It's so limiting for some people, and some people
Yeah.
can really use it as a strength. So,
Absolutely.
how do you do that? Like, how do you turn someone's story into their strength?
So let's keep it extra simple for this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem dwells in the way that we define terms.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment you're like, I failed, and I'm like, well, what does failure mean to you? Because that's, I would say, part of the issue is we adopt an idea of failure that is inherently negative.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do that, we're starting from a deficit. So if we redesign the term to say, hey, what do you want failure to mean to you? What if it's empowering to fail? What if it's good news to fail? How could it help the bottom line for you as an athlete to fail? Now, guess what? You're no longer afraid of it. So a lot of times we start from some of the fundamentals, right? Is instead of, oh no, failure is bad. Let's make it good. How could it be good? And it's not a fake thing that we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like an actual take ownership back, have a high level of agency and choice, and create language that helps you achieve the highest things in
Makes
the world,
sense.
right?
Well, it does make sense. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of people who get divorced and say, oh, my marriage failed. Well, you were married for 20 years. You had a bunch of kids. You got a mortgage. Like, it seems like you kind of nailed it.
Right.
It just had an expiration date, and now you get another one. But it's not a failure because then you're
Right.
really, negating everything that you got from that
Right.
relationship. And it is like a rewrite if you call failure something different. Or it's like authors. I coach a lot of therapists who are
Yeah.
authors. You have to get a certain amount of rejections from agents and publishers before you get a book contract.
Right.
And there is a certain logic to that.
Well, and that's why, are you familiar with the 3 laws of performance?
You share with us.
Yeah, well, the first law is everyone behaves according to how the world occurs to them, right? So in other words, your beliefs shape your behavior. Your perceptions shape your performance. So part of the thing that holds us back is that, right? So failure, whatever you believe about failure will shape how you behave in the next moment. So part of what we're taking back is we're restructuring the belief. And it's for all of us, part of the problem is we think our beliefs are facts.
I would say that's true. I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that's a
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a large amount of what holds us back. So part of what I love to do is first to bring to attention, hey, that's a belief. It's not a fact. Now let's work on the art form of developing your perception so that it aligns with your vision, right? There's a difference between your perspective and having perspective.
Okay, say that again so
Yeah.
that I don't lose that.
Yeah, there's a difference between your perspective and having perspective. And that's one of the, I would say, most important mental skills to develop is, okay, it feels like a failure right now. That's my perspective. Now, what we work on is having perspective. How can this help me grow for the next match, for the next minute? That's having perspective,
I mean,
right?
it seems like failure is the wrong word.
Right. Exactly.
because that word has such a strong implication within itself.
That's exactly it. So that's why I invite a lot of my clients to redefine things like that.
Yeah.
And the first invitation is, and notice I'm saying invitation. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm not telling them what to think, which, I'm inviting them into their autonomy. Now, especially for athletes, their whole life, what's being done to them is they're being told what to think. So one of the things that we're reclaiming is, hey, this is your choice. You're at your best when you're making choices. You're at your best when you're free. And you can see it in the beginning. They're like, really?
Yeah.
Because years and years of their life are be here, do that, run this play. It has to look this way. Okay, you did that wrong. And so now for us to reclaim that, so then now that they could say, all right, I'm inviting them into the choice of, what does failure mean to you? Okay, that's their current definition. Usually it's a disempowered one. And then I say, how can we make failure this beautiful, brilliant thing?
I mean, it feels like athletes should have someone like you with them, early on, not waiting until they're even to the professional level, although maybe they don't need it then, but it's retraining the conversation and defining the terms.
Right. And I think we need somebody like me, will say at every stage of their game. A big part of, I'll share a little bit of my story in terms of specifically why like the sports world is so important to me. And, we all have an origin story. So I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in the era of Michael Jordan. And, I fell in love with the game of basketball. I grew up in a really bad neighborhood in Chicago. And if it wasn't for basketball, I think I would have got into
Did you play? You played?
I played the game, loved the game so much. And like I said, so I have a couple of stories. I grew up in a gang-infested area. I told y'all I'm Puerto Rican and Persian, so maybe the first Persia Rican you've ever met.
Persia Rican.
But I had this particular day where one of the local gangs, they were called the Cobras, and one of the gang members came up to me. He was like, hey, y'all, I want you to be a Cobra, which sounds pretty lame, but
I don't know. Sounds like,
I bet they had cool clothes.
I was like, I want to be an anaconda. I don't know, like a different snake, but
anaconda.
And I just plain and simply told him, I want to play ball, man. Every day I would come to the basketball court and play basketball. And he looked at me and he said, we got your back. Oh. And he's like, you keep hooping, we're going to protect you. So it wasn't like after school special where they just like beat me up until I joined the gang. It was actually the opposite. They're like, we're going to protect you. We're going to take care of you. He was like, make sure you do good in school. Keep playing basketball. So I always like to say that. Yeah. Like, that's nice.
It's a nice gang.
That's a nice gang story.
It is.
That's what I'm saying. We got
like a brotherhood.
Reverse the narratives. Well, a lot of gangs in Chicago specifically started as like social clubs and taking care of the neighborhood.
Taking care of the boys, like
taking
family.
care of the boys, yes. Yeah. So that's why I said that basketball for me, I think, saved my life. So every moment I had growing up, I was hooping.
Did you play beyond high school?
Yeah, so this is part of the story, right? From 8 years old all the way to, I'm going to start from my freshman year of high school. So I was 5'2" my freshman year of high school.
Well, you're so tall now.
Yeah, well, that's the part of the story. I remember people were like, well, you're good, but if you want to play varsity basketball, you got to grow. And I was like, well, how do I manufacture that? How do I make that happen? And it was pretty cool because I had a phys ed teacher who was like, if you want to grow to your maximum potential, you got to sleep 8 or 9 hours a night. So you best believe after that, sleeping was my new religion. Like I had the white noise machine, everything, like my face mask, all that stuff.
Cute.
And I went from 5'2" my freshman year to 5'4" my sophomore year. And I was like, okay, something's happening here.
Well, puberty was happening too. I'm just going to say.
You're taking away the joy of the story.
Okay.
And then I went from 5'4" to 5'11"
oh my God.
my junior year.
Wow.
And then my senior year, I was 6'1".
Jesus.
So I grew almost a foot in high school. I made the varsity team. And
we are not promoting sleep. It's
growth
hormone.
Go to sleep, everybody. Go to sleep if you want to
sleep's
grow.
Important.
Right. just
Especially
sleep.
for young growing boys.
Absolutely.
It's facts.
Wow.
And then again, it's where my skills kind of started to meet the height that I had, made captain of the team, scoring title. I started to get some letters to play the next level of college basketball, and which was a big dream for me. So I had this letter and it was for the University of Chicago. So I went to a Catholic school in high school, and I took the letter to my academic counselor because I was like, well, I don't know what to do next. I need some advice. I need some direction. And I took the letter to Sister Ruth. She's about 157 years old at the time. And
she slept well.
Yeah, she slept really well. She slept really, really well. And she had her Coke bottle glasses on, I remember. And I was so excited. I got into the room. I gave her the letter, and she read it. And she looked at me, and she said, you're not smart enough to go to this school.
Wow.
And she says, you're a good basketball player, but you can't cut it in the classroom.
Sister.
Yeah.
Oh, sister.
It was, yeah. And, you know, for me at 17 years old, I did not have faith in that part of my life. So when I heard her limiting beliefs, really, I adopted them. And I ended up not going to that school. So, you know, for some folks, right, you hear that, and maybe you have the mental fortitude to be like, nope, like, watch, I'm going to go. But for me, I was very confident in my basketball side. I was not very confident in my academic side. And as a result, I was like, well, okay. It just kind of deflated me.
Yeah.
And it was also when we talk about certain traumas, I never told my parents.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't until I started to tell my story publicly, actually, that my mom was like, why didn't you ever share that with me?
Were you the first to go to college in your family?
On my mom's side, yeah. I was the first to go and graduate. So I went to a different school. I ended up going to Northeastern. I said, you know what? The first year I want to just focus on academics and like prove that I have what it takes academically. Sure enough, you know, my first year I made the honor roll. And so now I'm like, okay, year 2, I'm gonna try out for the team. And then I got an email, no joke, a couple months after that said, this school is gonna drop all athletics.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
And then, you know, I don't come from money. So people were like, hey, it's gonna cost a lot of money for you to transfer, and also you're gonna have to be a freshman again. And my family couldn't afford that. So at this point, I'm like, well, I'm not going to the NBA. So let me just finish and kind of give up on that dream, which ended up being a big regret because I played rec league ball all over the place in Chicago. And as I continued to grow as a basketball player, I would play in these leagues and people were like, yo, where you play college ball? And I always had this thing in me like, oh, I don't play. What would have happened? And then again, as I got older, I remember I was 25 and I feel like I hit like part of my basketball prime because I was playing in 2 or 3 leagues all the time. And somebody was like, dude, do you play overseas? Like, what's your story? And I just always had this regret of like, what could have been had I had somebody walk alongside me or give me good advice or help me learn a mindset tool that would help me push past some of those limiting beliefs. And a big part of why I do what I do now is because I get to provide that role now for other people. Because, you know, our minds are so fragile in these stages where we're trying to figure out who we are and what we're about. And now I feel fortunate enough to be that person for a lot of guys that need it.
That's
and
cool.
gals.
Did the sister ever get to see your academic success?
No. Yeah. A lot of people ask about that. It's like, did you go back and, you know, tell her? No, if it was a movie, I definitely would have gone back and, you know, let her know. I don't know.
Right.
Like I said, she was like probably, you know, 100-something years old. So I don't know what
when
happened.
they make the movie of your life,
Right,
you
right.
make sure
Yes,
there's
yes.
that scene
Well, who do
in
you
there.
exactly? Who do you want to play you, and who do you want to play the sister?
That's a good question. I don't know. Some people have said Zachary Levi should play me, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And the sister,
Who would
Someone
be?
really old.
like Helen.
Yeah,
Mirren.
yeah,
You know,
yes.
she'd be
Maybe
good.
Helen Mirren. Yeah, but I don't know. She's maybe not.
Well,
That's nice.
I really like that you're able to take the experiences in your life. And again, I didn't hear you once say failure, and I didn't hear you once talk about, you know, the limitations as something that you have not been able to use to transform other people's lives.
Right.
Which is really
Yeah.
been, you know, I like how you're crafting your own narrative and you're taking your story and saying, look, I'm going to use this as an example of resilience and how I can bring this to other people. And it gives you a certain amount of, cred too, like your own vulnerability.
Absolutely.
You're not like, okay, I was a star and then I broke my knee and then now I'm coming to you with my medals and my trophies. Like, it gives you some relatability.
Yeah, and I think that's what, most of us want, right? We want somebody who's been through their own struggle and has come out on the other end so that they can be some sort of guide for us. And I'm not a victim. And I think that's the thing that I realized early on in life is definitely not happening to me. I really believe that idea that life is happening for me. And, I think we over-index towards wounds. I think we talk about wounds too much instead of understanding that there's wisdom in your wound. The thing that hurts you the most becomes a gift. If you sit with it and you let it speak to you and you let it teach you, it has a superpower in there for you. So that's why, and I've never been able to make sense of this. I would love to hear your thoughts actually, because I've always been fascinated with the difference between somebody who allows their wound to teach them and the person who lets that wound consume them. It actually gives birth to kind of another story for me is, when I was 11 years old, I remember I'm on my way to school and my uncle was an alcoholic. So on this particular day, I'm walking out and for whatever reason, I'm walking out of the living room and I look to my right and he's like drunk, but stone cold drunk to the extent where you can smell the liquor coming from his body. And on this day, like I just froze, but I froze and I'm looking at him and I'm like, am I going to be like him? Like, is this my future?
Yeah.
And again, nobody sat me down to tell me, here's the choices that he made. You can make different choices. But I sat there, I stood in front of him for like, I don't know how long, it felt like ages, right before I went to school. And for whatever reason, I looked at him and I said, I'm going to be the complete opposite of him. And I said, I'm never going to take a sip of alcohol in my life. I'm never going to do drugs because he also did drugs. He was also in a gang, which is why it was easy for me to say no to the gang. And when I left for school that day, I left changed. And I've always been trying to like make sense of that as like so many of my friends, though, in my neighborhood in Chicago in Humboldt Park followed the example in their home. And for whatever reason, there was a part of me that was like, I got to make sure I don't. And I don't know if y'all have any insight too, or if you sat with that too, because I'm like, I just don't know the difference or what happens inside of us where we're like, I gotta shift it versus the ones that are like, well, I guess that's me, and I'll keep going. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So many thoughts.
Go with it.
Where to begin?
Well, in your story, the choice point sounds like it was that moment that the Cobra guy came up to you and said, this is your choice in this moment in your life. Like that would have been the choice point in the movie. And for whatever reason, did you have a relationship with your dad?
Yeah, my parents were divorced when I was 2, but yes, both of my parents were very present and active in my life.
Yeah, because people make choices one of 2 ways. They go really self-destructive, or they go really self-empowered. And for my own life, I think I did both. Yeah. My parents were separated. I grew up raised by wolves. And I, at first, went really self-destructive. And then there was some choice point. I don't even know if I could define it. It was probably that tennis court. But I turned in the other direction and probably overcompensated in over workaholism and over, trying to be overly successful to prove to my mother that I was okay, even though she was been dead for a long time. And I think that there's 2 paths. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of variation on those paths, but there's 2 paths. Yeah. And for whatever reason, you became the man. You made a choice that you became the man that you wanted to be. Yeah. Even though it might not have been the easier path, there was something in you that said, I know I could go down that other path. Yeah. Or I could go down this path.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And you chose a couple times. So even in the, in the office with the nun or whatever, you made a choice. You said, okay, well, maybe I can't go to that school, but I'm still going to go to school. Right. And I'm still going to get good grades. And I dropped out of high school. And there was a point, that was one choice. And then for a lot of different reasons. And then there was a point where I said, okay, I'm going to go back to school and get my doctorate. You know, like I kept going in the other
Dream
direction,
big.
way too
Dream
far.
big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a choice point that you made. There's something about the idea of success for you that drove you, that is almost like you were meant to help other people.
Yeah.
Like you said, no, I have something I need to do in the world that is not necessarily about me.
Right.
It's about other people.
And
Yeah.
your parents must have fostered some of that in you.
Well, I would say in this, I don't think they did in a direct way.
Mhm.
I think they did by loving me. Like
But
I was the
that's-
only child, right?
Oh.
And I think they loved me really well. You know,
And that can be it sometimes.
yeah, because it wasn't about sitting me down and having these conversations with me or like teaching me about even something like a choice point or wisdom, which that was the thing too, is like I always wanted that. Like I always wanted someone to sit me down and to help me understand the things that I couldn't understand about life. And I think that's another part that led me to this line of work, which is like I was so interested in the deeper things of life. I was so interested in how to lead, how to impact, you know, how to be a person of wisdom. Those things like drove me for a long time. How choices make a difference. Like I remember just early on understanding, okay, I made this choice to not drink, and it allowed people to pause and say, wait, what? You could do that in the hood? You know what I mean? And then when I started telling my story as I got older, I would speak to a lot of youth audiences, and they were like, I don't have to be like everybody else. And I'm like, you don't. But how a simple choice can impact so much, not only for yourself, but for the world around you. Like I started to see the fruit of that. And it changed everything, not only for me, but I think on a large level too for my family.
Well, your kids are so lucky to have you as a dad.
Oh, thank you.
And have you
Thank you.
had follow-up conversations with your parents
Absolutely.
as an adult now? And
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, my parents, it's funny because like I said, my mom, one of the questions that she asked me was like, why didn't you share with us? You know, why didn't you tell us? And I think when I was growing up, I didn't have words for it, but I knew they were going through their own struggles. And there was almost like a part of me that didn't want to impose on them, you know, that felt like your life is hard enough. And so it almost felt like I needed to figure out things to not make their life harder.
You didn't want to be a burden to them.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't that was true. It was my young mind trying to make sense of things and seeing how, you know, my mom would bust her ass, my father would bust his ass, and you know, there was just so much of their life that they would sacrifice to give me the life that I had, you know. And even though, you know, we weren't rich, but I never felt like I was wanting for anything, you know, and I think that set me up for a lot of success.
And I imagine they, you know, led by example in some of your work ethics. They're unspoken, so, you know, when you see them as a child.
Absolutely. And that's why, you know, part of what I love to do is just like understand that my parents did the best that they could with what they had, right? There was these things that I wanted that they couldn't necessarily give me. And those gaps created a drive in me too, to go figure it out. And I got to remind myself of that as a parent too, because I think, you know, what I realized is I cannot give my kids everything all the time, because that's going to undercut them in a different way. So it's almost like inviting them into a certain level of struggle, into figuring out themselves, as opposed to like, you know, as a dad, when you don't want to see your kids struggle, so you want to stop it, instead of realizing, no, that struggle's a gift for you. Because I struggled quite a bit when I was growing up, and I realized a lot of that was a gift for my development and growth.
Yeah.
So what role do you think, like, talking to yourself and being your own best parent, like, it's like you're the parent that you've always wanted.
Yeah.
And what role do you think that helped? Because it almost sounds like you were the best motivator for yourself. You've always been your own coach. I mean, with all due respect to your parents, but you've always been your own life coach since you were a kid.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you know what's interesting, because I never framed it that way,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say that that's true. And what was the question that you had in there? Because
I guess
first that resonated with me, and then I want to make sure I got the question.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious if you've ever like been in touch with that, the fact that you are your own best parent. You are your own life coach. Like you've done this for yourself your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe that's why I needed to hear it again, because I don't know if I've seen it that way, you know? And yeah, I think that's a part of this healing process that we talk about is sometimes you think the need has to be given to you from the outside world, and sometimes it's exposing, hey, you can give that to yourself. And you can open up to the relationships that can give it to you too. But I think part of what got me through a lot of difficult things was like I figured out how to provide that need to myself. And I think for a long time when I was immature in this particular thing, I resented my parents for not giving me what I needed, you know? And then as I got older and developed, you know, some more maturity, it was no longer about blaming them, but thanking them for the ways that they did show up. And also even, like I said, for the gaps, for the parts that were struggled, because I needed that too, to figure out how to lead myself.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah.
We never are too old to learn
Right.
surprising things about ourselves too.
I think I'm too old.
I
mean, I don't think I'm too old. I think the things that I'm learning now, I'm like, oh my God, that's exhausting.
Yeah. You're like, I thought I learned this one already. Are we learning this one again?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, now my kids are like older and grown up, and now, you know, I have a 1-year-old grandchild, and now my kids are like teaching me the things. You know, what I found is that whatever age your kids are brings up all your shit from when you were that age.
Man.
All your issues. So now you're going through your toddler phase.
That's right.
And, you know,
Yeah.
I'm going through from my 20s into my early 30s. That's the age of my kids. And I'm like, oh, that's right now.
It's like, they're hitting the buttons.
Yeah, they're hitting the buttons. The good things too, but it's,
right.
You know, you're always like confronting what the relationships are in yourself and with the outside world. And, you know, I'm so fascinated by your capacity to motivate people through the walls that we put in our own way.
Right.
You know, as a therapist, and seeing people's limitations and seeing my own limitations, to hear like what the tricks are of like how do you do that for people, and especially in this area of really success around performance, which I think I've always used a little bit compulsively, maybe to compensate for things that I didn't get. And you're doing it in a way that, you know, it sounds so healthy, like you're confronting people's stories and their own narratives and saying you have choices, that you know, you can rewrite this any way you want, and also changing this idea of failure and vulnerability, and working with what you have, and not trying to give people like a script.
And it you know, it does take longer because of that. Right. And especially when we're addicted to quick results. I think that's why we're like, give me what's going to work right now. And I help some of my players notice that, is like, if you want a quick fix, I'm not your person. If you want something that's sustaining, if you want an anchor, if you want a solid foundation, let's do the work. It is going to take some time, because I think at the core of it is about figuring out your story. I really like, I'll live and die by that. I think that's part of our superpower too, is if you cannot live somebody else's story but figure out your own, you're going to be hard to stop. But that's the temptation, right? The temptation is, what did you do? Okay, I'm just going to go do that.
Right.
Instead of, now I got to figure out who I am. I got to figure out my way, my values, what makes sense to me. And then that's the unlock. And I really, really believe this about human existence. Like, that's part of the fun of life. Like, all of us are vastly different. And if part of this point of life is like, go figure out what makes you you.
Do you just work with athletes? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, I work with CEOs as well. So, a lot of folks are.
What about young men?
I have. We can talk later, if you want to. Yeah.
So we ask this of all of our guests because we are the best OBGYN you'll ever meet, and a therapist, a sex therapist. This is a moment that if you have a question you want to ask us, anything goes. This is your moment. This is your opportunity. Anything you want to ask us.
Okay. So different questions for each.
Yeah, well, you can ask as many as you want. One question, 3,
okay,
10,
it.
doesn't matter.
Well, I'll say this. How did you find your thing? Like, what was the moment where you were talking a little bit about tennis and we're like, oh, well, that's not my thing. How did you find your thing?
That's a great question.
Yeah. How did you?
Well, I think I've always been a therapist. Like when I was little, the kids would come to my front lawn and sit in a circle.
Yeah.
I would get them to talk about their problems. But I really wanted to be an artist. And my mother told me I would starve in a garret, which is kind of like your nun story. But I went to art therapy school and got my degree in art therapy, which I thought was a compromise. But I think all therapists really are trying to figure out their own childhood and trying to figure out their own stuff. And I was fascinated by relationships always. Like, why do you pick the people that you're with? Why do they piss you off so much? Why do you fall in love with someone and then a couple years later that thing is the thing that makes you insane? And I was fascinated, still am fascinated by that. And then I was fascinated by the fact that I was a couples therapist and I had done every relationship therapy training in the world, got every letter after my name, and no one ever talked about sex.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, are we just roommates here? Like, what is the shame and guilt about pleasure? And so then I got obsessed with sex and wrote a bunch of books. And I'm just now still so interested in this idea of pleasure denial and pleasure rejection. And what's the story that we all have about why it can't be pleasurable to play tennis or to have sex or to be with a partner without getting an erection or all of that. Like that's still like
or to play tennis without getting an erection.
Exactly. Why do we have to win?
Right. And that's why you're so good at what you do, though, because it's your passion, clearly.
I'm still liking that. And I can't play tennis anymore because I blew out my shoulder, but I started playing pickleball. Hurt my shoulder again. But I like pickleball. It's like not as mean.
Yeah.
It's not as mean.
Yeah.
It's more friendly.
Yeah, it's friendly.
I think for me, growing up, I was so inspired by my dad. And
he was a doctor.
He was a doctor, a urologist. And I used to go with him on rounds on Sunday morning. It was kind of like all of us kids would go. And we'd go sit in the doctor's lounge and eat donuts and watch TV.
It was the donuts.
The donuts did it.
Donuts. And then sometimes we'd, tag along and I could just see his power and his kindness with his patients and the nurses and the janitors. And I thought, wow, this is so meaningful. And it just became very easy to kind of want to do what he does. Maybe not urology, but to go into medicine. And and it was a very easy path, because who wouldn't want their child to go into medicine? And in fact, all my siblings did. I was one of 3. And we were influenced greatly by my dad's ability to really make a difference in medicine. And it was, he's always been, very much on my shoulder, watching over. He's since passed away, but it's, and medicine is a wonderful field to go into.
Absolutely.
And to really be there for your patients and to be a listener and a healer, even if it's not a physical heal, it's just to listen.
Well, you're definitely a natural healer. You definitely have
that. And then it became, I always wanted to go into a happy field, which, women's health really is that.
Yeah.
No chronic problems. I mean, maybe chronic yeast infections every once in a while, but
you get to see the baby.
But it was just joyful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I even have questions about like when you're delivering a baby or you're witnessing life come, because it was such a transformative experience for me.
Yeah, it's the best.
To watch, my children come into this world.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like I had 11 feelings happen at the same time.
Only 11?
Yeah.
Yeah,
11.
I
That's a
it could
funny
be more.
number.
It could be 30.
Yeah.
But just the experience of having so many emotions and like things running through my veins that I can't. It felt like it was like a new emotional experience. It should be a new category.
Yeah. I mean, it's true.
That's true.
There's really nothing like that experience with someone you love and what you've created. And I mean, it's, there's always tears.
Right.
Even by me. I mean, it's always at that moment. And to watch the interactions of the couple is so beautiful.
Right.
It's so tender, and you can really tell a lot about the love just by their physical reactions.
Yeah. And like I said, there's stories that, because like for our doctor that delivered our babies, it was so funny because it felt like it was, okay, business as usual. It's almost like working around the mindset of how do I keep this thing sacred and special versus like clinical. Is that something that you work through or?
Oh, definitely. I mean, because you just cannot allow yourself to do that. Doctors really shouldn't. It really has to be kind of your moment.
Right.
And the doctor is there to just make it safe and joyful. And more often than not, I'm more silent. I make sure they're taking photos of the baby because that's the one thing you regret, like not getting that photo.
Can't get it back.
No, you can't get it back. You can't.
Right.
And sometimes I'll let the partner be a part of the delivery, especially if it's their second. I'll get the head out and then let the partner come and deliver the rest of the body out.
Wow.
And it's, things like that I think are really meaningful.
It is. I actually just have a story. I don't know how much time we have. But so for our daughter Isla, we have a 4-year-old girl. Her name's Isla. And then our little boy's Koa. He's 2. Isla was born in the midst of the pandemic. So it was literally me, my wife, and one nurse. And that was working it until it was time for the doctor to come. And then he came in last second. But probably like, 45 minutes before my wife had been pushing and working it out. And the nurse, I remember she looks at my wife and she goes, "Oh my gosh, your daughter, she has a full head of hair." And I was like, "Cool." And she goes, "Do you want to touch her hair?" I was like, let me get this straight. You want me to
put your hand
right
in
now in the midst of but she said it so matter of fact, like it was just like nothing for her. I was like, I'm cool on that.
Yeah.
I'll wait. And my wife was in a totally different state. Like she didn't even clock what was happening,
Yeah.
But she's happy that I said no to that because I think that would have been.
I know that, but it's a motivation.
It is a motivation.
Because if and I do the same, the head's right there and you can touch and it's like, gives you that extra.
Yeah.
You've been pushing for 2 hours. You're like, let me just
I feel like I needed to be primed for that though. Like, warn me. Not just like in the moment. I was like, wait a minute. Hold on.
Was there any trauma
no,
you experienced watching the delivery? Did you?
Not at all.
Were you front row, VIP?
It was just, me, my wife, and the nurse for the whole time. And then, like I said,
some partners do get a little bit of
trauma,
PTSD watching the head come out of the vagina.
No, I would say for my son, he was a little bit more blue when he came out. So that I was like,
that's scary.
Yeah, that was scary for me. And he didn't cry as quick as my daughter did. So again, those things. I remember I cried, but from fear when my son was born instantly. And when my daughter was born, it was, crying from all those other emotions. But then I was afraid.
Yeah, and that wasn't the Dodger blue you wanted to see.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Chicago Cub blue would be mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Just so we're clear.
Okay, got it.
We're in LA, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Chi-Town.
Yeah, that's great though. It's such a magical moment.
It is. It really is.
Well, I love the fact that you're a dad and that you're into it and that your kids are so lucky to have you. Because you've done a lot of your internal work and you're still working on yourself.
Definitely.
And they're going to grow up like up level.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I received that. I mean, that's one of my main priorities, is like I want to make sure that I'm setting them up for success and that I'm a strong force in their life for good. you know? So a lot of that comes through the inner work.
So any last messages to our listeners, if you could give them, a last coaching message or a dad message or a human message, what would you want to say to our listeners?
Yeah, I think it's what we touched on, which is like take the time to slow down and figure yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the most important conversations that we have access to as human beings. And for the most part, we distract ourselves from it. It costs you more time to not have that conversation.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of time back. You're going to get a lot of energy back if you're willing to have that conversation with yourself and the people that matter most. And you'd be surprised in terms of how much you can accomplish when you're willing to have that conversation with yourself over and over and over again. That would be another thing, is don't get tired of it. Because like you're saying, every season of life is inviting you into a new conversation with yourself. And to me, that's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so much fun to be like, okay, I thought I learned it all.
Yeah.
And guess what? So much more. There's so much more to discover. And when you
hold on.
Right, hold on.
Exactly.
Hold on. Yeah, because even when you said that,
chapter.
like, there's I forgot how you phrased it, right? Where it's like, there's something being addressed with the age that your kids are. And I was like, oh, I never saw it that way, but that makes a lot of sense, you know? And it does feel like that. I'm now attempting to heal things that happened to me before I could even remember.
Yeah. And you don't even realize.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But if I can't have the conversation with myself, I'm going to bypass it and I'm going to recreate the pain, you know, for the people that I love most. And I don't want to do that. So.
We do have one other question.
Yes.
And it's usually about if your vagina could talk. I think I assume, if your penis could talk, what would it say?
That's an interesting question. If my penis could
I
talk.
love how you're blushing.
Yeah, I was like, what would it say? I'm here? I mean,
that's great.
I don't know. I think I have a feeling that's what it would say. I'm here.
Good. That's all you got to say.
He's here.
Standing tall.
He stays ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He stays ready.
He's on deck.
He's on deck.
He's on deck.
Yep.
That's perfect.
He's right. He's right. Yeah.
Very good sportsman.
He's on deck.
On sports, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice way to wrap it up.
That's a great final question. It's like, you just want to see the response from people, right? All right. What would it say?
Yeah,
Right.
well, it gives us great insight, and it's a good way to check in with yourself.
Right.
Yeah. You
That's
might
true.
use that. You can use it.
I'm definitely going to be thinking about it now on the drive home, right? It's like, what would it say?
You're going to go home and ask your wife, if your vagina could talk, what would it say?
Or even ask her, if my penis could talk, what do you think it would say?
Right.
You know?
They could just have a conversation with each other when you get
Right.
home.
Let's just have them talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
They're well acquainted.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're well acquainted.
Well, I hope they have a great relationship when you get home. And I just want to thank you, Joe, for being with us today. It was really fun.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell people how they can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My social is Johan Speaks. So pretty simple. My
Can
first
you
name.
spell it?
Johan Speaks. SPEAKS. I think I passed the spelling bee a couple times. So Johan Speaks.
Yep.
I'm mostly on Instagram. I like dabble in the TikTok world. Are you guys in TikTok life?
Let's not talk about TikTok.
Okay.
I get like banned from TikTok talking about
Really?
sex.
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
Now I got to follow you definitely on TikTok.
Yeah. I'm not a TikTok expert, but I definitely will follow you. And we're going to put your info in our show notes so people can
Definitely.
find you.
Thank you. It's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for listening. It's been another great episode of Paradox. And stay healthy, stay sexy,
And educated.
Hey.
Till next time.